take projection.
Welcome once again to Taking On Sports. I am TD. That is Greg. Greg, how you doing today?
I am good. How are you today, sir?
I'm pretty good myself. Let's kick today's show off. We'll do some NBA offseason action. Really, probably the biggest thing going on this part of year. Check my notes. I guess the big news since last time we talked was Dame Lillard has officially requested to trade out of Portland.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Seems like Miami is the place he wants to go. So, Greg, my question to you, two part is it foregone that he's going to end up at Miami? And does Portland owe him that? Should they give in and just trade to Miami and take maybe less than they want? Or should they just be like, look, we're going to get the best deal possible. We'll try to trade you to a contender, but no guarantees.
Well, I'm not sure if they really owe him anything. They've given him plenty of money. He could have left before now if he really wanted to, but he chose to stay. They backed up the brink stroke for him.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else you. I don't think that they really owe him per se. As far as going to Miami, of course you would. That's where he wants to go. That's his front runner idea. But from Portland's perspective, does that make sense? What realistically does Miami have that they're willing to give up that really benefits you? I don't know if there really is that in Miami. And at the same time, if you look at it from as far as what Portland can get, also if you look at it from Miami's perspective, if you're bringing in Dame Lillard, what parts are you going to have to give up to break up are you going to have to give up Bam? Are you going to have to give up, you're going to have to give up Bam and or Tyler for him. Because what other talent does Miami really have that Portland benefits from? I don't really know. And if you do that, then you're kind of back to where you are.
Mm-hmm.
You haven't gotten any better per se. Uh,
Yeah, and Tyler Hero seems to be a holdup from what I'm reading. And not necessarily that Portland want him, the
right.
player, but they don't want his contract, which I believe is still 4 years, 120 mil left on it. That is a big contract,
Right.
and if you're trying to rebuild, you don't necessarily maybe want that kind of big
Exactly.
contract. But Hero the player would be a good kind of young guy to build
No.
around, or at least one of your foundational pieces, along with
Right.
Scoot Henderson,
Right.
Simons, and who else they
Yeah.
got there?
It's
The
just
other.
yeah, there's just kind of big money for him, and the other thing
Mm-hmm.
too is he healthy? Key
Mm-hmm.
key parts of Miami's last two seasons, he hasn't been there. So, and when
Yeah.
you want your, uh, your number kind of the number two guy there, and then if he goes to Portland, you're kind of looking at almost the number one guy as far as experience and the talent level. You want them healthy at the key parts of the season. Not that necessarily Portland's going to the playoffs, but if they start becoming a contender, you would want them to, because they do have young pieces. You want them to be available when it matters the most.
Yeah, exactly. You want $120 million worth of games,
Yeah,
regardless of
exactly,
where you're going.
exactly.
And yeah, I kind of agree with you. They gave Dame that big extension, and he took it. And he could have, opted out. He could have went for free agent, in the past round. He could have
Right,
asked for a trade earlier. So I don't think they owe him necessarily being like, all right, we'll get you to Miami regardless.
right.
If they're,
Yeah,
sure, there's a little because he was a guy that stuck around in a small market. Portland, one of the smallest, if not the smallest, in the NBA. And it's unusual for a star like Dame Lillard to stick around in a market like that. So sure, and ideally, you'd be like, all right, look, we're going to try to get you to a contender, whichever one has the best package for us. It also helps
hmm
us do right by the franchise. And we've seen that before
right.
with, in other sports in the NBA. And, probably the most famous one is Wayne Gretzky being traded from the Oilers to the Kings in the NHL. And he did it because he realized that it was the best thing to do for the franchise. The Oilers, got plenty to rebuild on then. And
Right.
he got to go and took the Kings to a Stanley Cup finals even. Um,
Exactly.
But so yeah, it'd be interesting to see how this plays out. Miami is obviously where he wants to go, but not necessarily where he'll end up. It does seem he's pretty much done in Portland, regardless.
Right.
Because what they
Yeah.
definitely don't want to do is keep
Keep
him
him around and
around and pay him
yeah,
what's he making 50, 60 a year. By the end of this contract,
yeah.
he's gonna be making real stupid money.
Right, and then you got that whole almost like I'm not sure if he'd be as bad, but then you were looking at kind of a James Harden situation where
Hmm.
he doesn't want to be there anymore and paying him stupid money as a cancer to the locker room. You got a lot of young guys there. Not saying he would be bad, but yeah, you kind of once a player says that they're out, you kind of want to make that move ASAP because it just doesn't make sense to force what it's not like the old days where people just play no matter what. When people say they're out
Hmm.
these days, it's they're out. They're mentally checked out, physically checked out. It's just not good for the team or the player.
Yeah, I mean, look at what Ben Simmons in Philly a couple years ago, and
Yeah, exactly.
turning teammates against him, that drama.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Greg Harden, and that's a good segue to Greg Harden, who also was requested a trade from Philly. So his 19th trade request in the past 4 seasons. Uh,
Like
um,
man, at some point,
or
wow.
James Harden. I think I said Greg Harden. Don't know who that is. Maybe I'm thinking the old Cowboys pass
He's
rusher.
somewhere.
Mm,
He's somewhere. Well, that was Greg Hardy, but
Hardy, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm sure there's a Greg Harden somewhere in the world. But
Somewhere,
yeah,
yeah. Maybe a
so I thought that.
combination of Greg Hardy and Greg Oden. Maybe I
Yeah,
don't know. Uh,
but yeah.
James Harden, yes, officially requesting a trade from Philly. That is one though he could still end up at the end of the day staying in Philly. Maybe.
Yeah,
I've seen the Clippers thrown out as a big name that he could go to, which would be an interesting because what do they give back, and do they really run out of lineup with Kawhi, Paul George, James Harden, and Russ? I mean, that's like your NBA 2K, maybe back in
yeah, maybe
2K15 dream lineup or
yeah,
something.
that would have been cool. Like maybe a decade,
Yeah, but
decade.
or maybe they're banking that between the four of them, they'll get enough playing time out of all of them. But who's healthy in the playoffs? And
All right.
Kawhi and Paul George have always been good defenders, but they're just getting hurt and up there. They're not as quick as they used to
Yeah,
be. And
exactly.
James and Russ ain't giving you shit on defense. uh,
No,
um, so that'd be an interesting one. Do you think Harden stays in Philly, or do you think he's gone?
I think he's gonna end up being in Philly.
Hmm.
Because I just don't understand why he wants to move. I mean, he wanted to go to Philly. He forced his way to Philly. He did. I, I don't know. At some point, you want to see if you can close the job. You force your way to Philly. You wanted to play with Embiid. You've had some solid regular seasons, some disappointments in the playoffs. But I don't know. I would want to go full out. Where I'm at, but I don't know if he that's his mindset or not. Also, but where would he end up? That's better as far as if you're wanting to win a championship or be a contender. Is there anywhere else better to go than where he's currently at in Philly? I don't think he gets any better than where he's at. But
No, for sure. I mean,
yeah,
they had that collapse against Boston last year, but if they win
yeah,
one of those game 6 or 7, that they ended up getting blown out in, they had a reasonable shot to beat the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals.
right,
Um, the Heat were on one, but Philly, you had the MVP and Embiid. Maybe they do beat them.
hmm
Maybe we get the Embiid versus Joker showdown in the finals.
yeah. Who
Um,
knows?
so they weren't as far away. And yeah, I'm with you. Like I don't know where Harden gets a better shot if a title is what he wants. Now, like some of the rumors that he wants to go back to Houston because he likes it there. Maybe some of the nightlife there. Uh, sure, if that's where he wants to go, but is Houston going to give up a bunch of young assets for him?
And,
They seem to
and
be
also,
stockpiling, and is
yeah,
James Harden the guy that's really going to surround himself with young guys and kind of mentor
yeah,
them?
exactly.
Does he have the
I
patience for that?
yeah, he
Um,
doesn't strike me as that guy. excuse me. He doesn't. He just kind of strikes me as a guy that comes in, plays ball, and then when he's when the game's over, he kind of bounces. I don't think he really builds strong relationships. Doesn't seem to. And if I'm Houston, I'm not bringing him back.
No,
Not
that's
so
why.
much because I mean he had some good years in Houston, but it's just the fact you have a young nucleus, a lot of young guys, and I'm not just with what he does at times with tearing up rosters, locker rooms, and a kind of that me attitude all the time. I'm gonna stay away with that, especially with all the young guys there.
Yeah, you don't want to kind of
No,
steer them in that direction, and
exactly.
uh, and and again, you don't want to just instantly label guys toxic for lack of a better term, for wanting out of a situation they don't want to be in.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to be there, but again, Harden has requested trades from the past. How many teams he's played on? He requested a
right.
trade from Houston initially. He got it. Then he wanted out of
Yeah.
Brooklyn. And then he got
But
it.
at
Now
some
he
point,
wants
it's
out his
like you can't. Like I understand certain, yeah, there might be a one or two bad situations, but every situation you go to, and I mean, some of it maybe I'm just sound like the get out my lawn old guy now, but every situation like can't every situation can't necessarily be bad that you request a trade everywhere. You
right.
know, I just can't see that every you force your way here, you force your way there, but after a year, it's not what I wanted it to be. At some point, it's just like, dude, either your expectations are crazy or you just
Or you need to look in the mirror. Like maybe
right,
maybe you're the
exactly,
problem.
yeah,
Uh, but yeah, so we'll see how that plays out. Still got a bunch of the summer left for that kind of
right,
thing. Uh, let's see, other trade wise. I believe after we published last week, the big one or biggest of them all, John Collins finally traded from Atlanta.
yeah.
Um, after how many years on the in the trade
He's been
rumor
on
mill?
chopping block forever.
Yeah, I
He
mean,
was always on the trading
you
block.
know, took the crown from C.J. McCollum. That's a guy who was rumored to be traded every
Right.
deadline and off season. He goes
Exactly.
out to Utah in return for Rudy Gay, going back the other way. Uh, Good pickup for Utah. They're kind of building something a little special out there, and they
Yeah.
might not be done. I've heard Colin Sexton's name thrown out there as an asset they could move again.
Hmm.
So that's Danny Ainge doing his thing out there.
Oh yeah.
Uh, the other one, let's see, Grant Williams goes to your Mavericks from Boston. Uh, you
That's
might
a
you might remember Grant last people from him poking
yeah. Poke the
Jimmy
bear, and
Butler.
it's
Yeah,
not
poke the
worked
bear
out
and
well.
Jimmy Butler, and then yeah,
It's not worked out well.
the very definition of fuck around and find out.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so, but that's probably a good pickup for Dallas, I think.
Yeah. We
Yeah.
definitely need bigger bodies there.
Hmm.
He brings energy there.
Hmm.
So definitely, I think it's a good pickup. We've had some decent big guy pickups in the last week or so. So I mean, I think getting some younger guys, some not necessarily we don't necessarily need scores, but just some physical big bodies, and brought some in there. So
Hmm.
I I like the pickup, but yeah, he just has to be smart.
Yeah.
You know,
And of
don't end
course, the
up
big news officially re-signing Kyrie.
yeah,
And
120 million guaranteed over 3, and
whew.
then they're doing this $6 million incentive thing. It's like that was it.
But
Uh,
well, yeah, well, hopefully for Mavericks fans, it goes better than it did this season.
yeah.
Maybe the award thing. Low key pickup that I didn't even hear about till yesterday or the other day. I was reading on pickups, doing my prep for this. Seth Curry
Hmm.
going back to Dallas.
Oh yeah, that was huge.
That's huge. Seth
I like
Curry
that
is like
pickup.
one of the better role players in recent memory,
Oh yeah,
and one of the better, especially from a shooting standpoint. And that's
yeah.
absolutely great with Luca and Kyrie with their distribution skills, able to
Like kick
dribble
it,
drive, yeah, kick it, and
and he'll be in the
Seth can
corner.
hit them.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe Dallas is doing some things the right way. Um, we'll see once the season starts. Other big free agent stuff: Fred Van Vliet to Houston, Dylan Brooks to Houston.
Yeah, I
Speaking
was
guys with
shocked how much
attitude,
Dylan Brooks got.
Dylan Brooks contract. Yeah, I had that pulled
Wow,
up. Where was that? Because that is, you are absolutely right.
because they made the way that things ended in. Well, I mean, their Grizzlies has they made it almost sound like this the way Brooks is gonna be in the league.
Yeah. So yeah, Van Vliet gets 3 year, 130 million. And it's nothing. And I think that's your mileage on him made to varies. Good player. I don't know if he's 130 good, but
Yeah,
4 years, 80 million for Dylan Brooks. So 20 a year. I don't know, especially with this new CBA coming up. Is he a 20-year guy? But
thanks.
yeah, maybe that's
I,
just
I mean, that type of money that he got basically says I'm a number two guy, and I'm gonna get you 20 and 10.
yeah, right. And
Dylan Brooks is not that guy,
is he going to do that? I mean, is so Van Vliet becomes their guy now.
and he's never really been the guy.
No, and so you got Jalen Green there, Jabari Smith. They tried to get Brooke Lopez, did not. So I don't know. It's interesting. We'll see what goes on in Houston. They're always an interesting team to watch. At least
Right? Yeah,
we'll
they
see
got a
if
lot
they
of
maybe
young guys, but yeah, they spent some weird offseason money there.
maybe Van Vliet is someone though that can actually give them kind of some structure on offense because they were definitely just kind of a ISO like
Well,
whose turn is it to shoot
exactly.
team. We mentioned the Hawks trading John Collins. They also extended Dejounte Murray. Um, so they're doubling down with that. Uh, the Knicks are kind of rebuilding that championship Villanova team. They got
Yeah, they got everybody there, don't they?
DiVincenzo, Josh Hart. Of course, still Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, they brought the
They
whole team
traded
back.
away Obi Toppin.
I'm kind of shocked at that.
Yeah, and especially just for two second rounders.
Yeah, it's like they really didn't get much back. Yeah,
Yeah, kind of. They took a gamble on who did they take him above? Was it Halliburton that they could have had? And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
which I mean, granted, a lot of teams swung and missed on Halliburton. Other quick trades. The Suns got a bunch of second rounders from the Grizzlies, just so they have some picks because they don't really have a lot going on.
No, they don't.
Uh, Clippers got Kenny Martin Jr. for 2 future first round picks from Houston.
Yeah,
Max Struess goes to
that's how you know we're
Cleveland.
old. Kenyon Martin Jr.
Yeah, I
in the
know,
league.
right? Oh man,
What?
that's we used to joke around. There was a line in those old NCAA football games. When a guy would have a famous last name, they programmed a line and it said something about him being a great athlete and not surprised considering who his father was. And
Right.
we'd make jokes like, "Oh, it's so and so's son." But now that stuff is actually happening. It's
Yeah.
not fun.
It's crazy. It's like what?
Well, you got like, and what was it? Was it last year's Major League Baseball draft? I think Andrew Jones' son was like one of the
Yeah.
top picks. And I'm like, wait a minute now.
Right.
No,
And
he's
then
not.
all
Not
those guys in
yeah.
Toronto too. Over,
Oh yeah,
it's like, come on.
the Biggios and Vlad Guerreros,
Yeah,
and it's like,
and
yeah, man,
Bichette
Bichette, yeah,
Jr. I'm
man.
like, come on. What?
That's like these guys. They just finished playing, right? Like,
I grew up with these guys.
yeah,
And
it's
now
one
their
thing.
kids are
Like, it'd be one thing, yeah, for the sons of the guys that ended their careers when we were younger. Like
they were like in the
yeah.
prime of their careers.
Like if Larry Bird had a kid that was playing or something, like okay, yeah, Larry, he
Yeah,
finished when
because
I
I
was
mean he was
young,
pretty
but
much done when I was young. But yeah, these
yeah.
guys were literally like stars when I was
Uh,
in junior high, high school.
Andrew Jones hit 50 home runs less
Yeah,
than 20 years ago. Like,
exactly. It's like, come on, really?
I'm not okay with this. Other trades: Victor Oladipo goes from Miami to Oklahoma City. Good veteran leadership there for him. If
Yeah,
he
I
can
like.
stay healthy, that's
Yeah,
always Victor's thing. Pistons got Joe Harris from Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
They're just, it's kind of, the Pistons are still, in the early stages of their rebuilding.
Right.
Uh, we mentioned the Grant Williams trade to Dallas. They also got 2 second-round picks from San Antonio on that. They gave 2 second-round picks to Boston, and then San Antonio got Reggie Bullock and some swap rights for a future pick. And that's kind of it for trades. Patty Mills goes from Oklahoma City to Atlanta. Nothing huge. Like I said, we're waiting on the big ones.
Right.
Does KD go somewhere? Where's Dame going? Um, and that's pretty much it for kind of that
Kind of wait and
player
see where
movement. Yeah,
Harden and Dan go and
yeah.
like that.
The other big news: the NBA officially unveiled their in-season tournament format. Um,
Excuse me.
so it's interesting. Adam Silver's talked about, it's modeled after European soccer
Right.
in season cups, so domestic leagues, if you're not familiar, domestic leagues will have their own cup. And like, so let's take England, the most famous, the FA Cup, the Football Association. So they have the Premier League, your top 20 teams, and that's obviously the big title. But then they have the FA Cup, which is literally open to any professional team in the country. So it's like over 900 teams. And
Right.
it's played, basically year round. And then you get to finally, you get to the later stages when the smaller teams may go up against a big team. I think
And
that's
that's when
part
it
of what
gets
makes
cool.
that so special. Yeah, and that's what makes it
Right.
cool, especially because those bigger teams and their first few rounds that they're playing, they're going to throw out their kind of B, C squads. They're going to get some of those
Right.
young guys a chance to run out, some backups, let them
Run.
get
Yeah.
starts.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of teams, clubs use it famously, like their second string goalkeeper, like he'll play all the cup games, so he gets,
Exactly.
some playing time. So it's a little different because the NBA is, a closed league with 30 teams. It'd be cool if, we
Open it
had
up.
some sort of like system like that in
Yeah.
American sports where, you did have hundreds of teams that, maybe some like Fort Wayne, Indiana's team could make a run to the finals or something. So,
Yeah. Throwing a G League teams. I don't know.
yeah, exactly. Which is, it becomes difficult. I've talked about this with people before, if promotion relegation, I think the sport that's best set up for in America would be baseball because there's so many teams already. You would just
Oh
have to
yeah.
figure out, contracts with, which players and feeding teams. You basically would have to create like a developmental league,
Mm-hmm.
take all the players you want there, and then just keep the rest on those minor league teams, which are
Right.
independently owned. Major league teams don't
Right.
own their minor league teams. But anyway, uh, and it's a cool concept, but as American sports is set up, owners aren't going to open up their leagues to that kind of structure because why would they
No.
risk losing that money?
Exactly.
If you go and
Exactly.
read up on how devastating it is to get
Oh,
relegated from
again.
a top
Oh
tier
man.
league to your second, yeah, you just millions upon millions of dollars, or conversely, the championship promotion playoff final, where you go from the second tier in England up to the Premier League, is called the richest game in the sport because it's,
Right.
you get like a automatic 30 million pound bump or whatever.
Oof.
From Yeah, exactly. But so I see what Adam Silver's going for. I personally would have liked them to see cut like a few games off the regular season schedule if they're going to do this.
Yeah, but they're
But
we're doing it in December and
yeah, it's going to start.
playing.
All right, let's see here. Da, 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 da.
Looks like they're doing December.
There we go.
Well, the quarterfinals are in
The group play
December.
portion of the tournament
Oh
here will
yeah.
start. Group play portion of the tournament consists of 4 games, one against each of the other teams in your group. They will take place on 7 dates throughout November. So they'll start the 3rd, the 10th, the 14th,
And
17th,
14.
21st, 24th, and 28th. So it's Fridays and Thursdays. So it's kind of interspersed between the regular season.
Mm-hmm.
You play the quarterfinals on December 4th and 5th, semis on
Okay.
December 7th, championship game on December 9th. So it's about a month.
About a month run there.
Yeah.
Yeah. They get 500,000
Yeah, players
to
take
win.
home 500 grand each for being on the team that wins, as they call it now, the NBA Cup.
But what does other than that? What's That's what I kind of wonder. What's the benefit for the teams or players other than that? Like,
Exactly, and that's your big thing right now because the FA Cup has history, and it was started way back hundreds of years ago, and was
yeah,
just a friendly
so it's something that,
competition, and
right? I mean,
is
that's
now.
something that's a big time thing. Like, no one's gonna say I'm not playing in the FA Cup. you
Yeah, and
know,
as I mentioned too, the bigger teams now they throw out a lot of second string
right,
guys, maybe until they get up to the quarters and semifinals when they're playing bigger squads, and even then, some
right,
teams it depends on what else they have going on.
exactly,
If they got, maybe if they're in the Champions League or they have a big domestic league game going on, then they're gonna maybe play a weaker squad against, in the FA Cup, but then save it. So
right,
I do think what this will lead to is a lot of young guys getting a lot of play. Some, bench riders, and then maybe your couple two-way guys or just younger guys that don't get regular playing time
right.
during the regular season.
Yeah, I guess you could also bring up your G League guy, yeah, your two-way G League guys, and give
Yeah,
them some.
but yeah, your guys, you know what? Rosters are 15 guys deep. So your guys that aren't getting guys that aren't regular in the rotation, they're gonna
Be playing a
get more
lot.
playing time. They split it up east and west, so three groups. Each conference, they're only East team. So like, real quick, the groups here. Group one, you got the Sixers, Cavs, Hawks, Pacers, Pistons. Then you have the Bucks, Knicks, Heat, Wiz, and Hornets. And then Celtics, Nets, Raptors, Bulls, Magic. And then Grizzlies, Suns, Lakers, Jazz, Blazers, Nuggets, Clippers, Pelicans, Mavericks, Rockets, and then Kings, Warriors, T Wolves, Thunder, Spurs.
Hmm.
And it says that the winner of each group advances to the quarterfinals along with a team from each conference that had the best performance that didn't win a group.
Hmm.
Um, and then where did it say? I just saw something earlier about when the teams would play each other. I don't know when it actually crosses. When you play like a team from. Okay, so the title game, you don't play a team from the other conference until the title game. So it's always going to be an East versus West title game.
Okay.
So that's interesting.
Hmm.
But yeah, like you said, for early on, we're gonna, what's the incentive for guys, particularly,
Yeah.
guys on big contracts, or do you want to, because the first time someone, tears an ACL or
Yes,
something major,
shut down.
yeah,
Like,
that's, the players are going to revolt or demand that the prize goes up a lot.
yeah, because I mean, 500,000 to those guys. What is that? It's
Exactly.
sad to
Yeah.
say
Yeah.
when
We
you're
just
making
talked about, if you're Van Vliet and you're making, let's see, 40 a year.
yeah, what 500,000 is just
Yeah. Now,
couple
granted for,
games.
yeah, those guys on, league minimum contracts, okay,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, five
that's,
hundred thousand is definitely something to, and then of course that's who's gonna play. But
yeah.
I wonder, what? I mean, do you maybe do something like? I mean, I don't know how much it would have an effect, or would it benefit at all? But if you win the FA, well, excuse me, the NBA Cup, do you maybe no matter what automatically get a playoff spot? Make it something,
Hmm.
something that way. So maybe people do play harder at the end, or maybe a team that's kind of on the maybe gets hot at the right time for that tournament, but not necessarily a playoff team. Maybe it may gives them a playoff spot. Does that do something? Or but I don't know. Other, I was thinking maybe that'd be the best thing to do. Have the champion be guaranteed at least in the guaranteed a playoff spot. But I don't know how that if they would ever do that or not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting concept because, yeah, the winner of the FA Cup gets automatically qualifies for the Europa League, which is the second tier European competition. So that's something, but usually doesn't matter because, more times than not, a big team wins it and they're qualified for the Champions League already, or they qualify for the Europa
Also,
through their league
how
standings,
much, oh, if the Celtics win, I mean, Celtics probably going to make the playoffs
playoffs.
anyway.
Yeah.
Hey,
So yeah, but that's interesting, and those are probably they'll make some tweaks as these first few years roll out. They'll see. Like I said, the strangest thing to me was that the players kind of allowed it to happen and didn't get some games shaved off of the regular season.
yeah, how much
But I
power
think,
does the Lakers have? Yeah, kind
yeah,
of.
I think the NBA regular season is probably a little too long as it is, and it could stand to lose 10, 15 games maybe. Um,
For sure.
but yeah, I mean, and we'll see too, because another thing with this involved is there. Adam Silver's also talked about wanting to expand. And add maybe a couple teams to the league. They're at 30 teams right now,
Hmm.
so getting two more into that 32, which seems to be a popular number in pro sports.
Right.
Uh, yeah, I know maybe we can talk about that next time at more length. But you figure Vegas is like a favorite.
Yeah,
They're the new
Vegas
hot.
seems
Yeah,
for every sport.
yeah, and then Seattle. Ever since the guy
Oh
that
man.
guy moved the Thunder out of there, or the
Yeah.
Sonics and made them the Thunder, then uh, you would figure Seattle should be first
And
on any list.
yeah,
But yeah, maybe we'll save that for next time. We'll
yeah.
maybe
I mean, they
talk
definitely.
about some cities that get yeah.
I mean, they definitely had a great. I mean, they love the NBA. But yeah, I know it's still a lot of hard feelings on that Pacific Northwest.
hmm And yeah, if you're listening, you've never really read up on that full story of the Sonics being taken from Seattle and kind of dirty play. Even David Stern involved a little, and it's bullshit. And they were a supportive fan base. Some great uniforms, back in those days. The Sonics, some great teams in those '90s with Gary Payton and Sean Kemp, Detlef Shrimp. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, they had, I mean, made the finals. Of course, they ran into the Bulls. Uh,
yeah,
and then
much.
and
What can
bad,
you do?
the West has always had quite a few. I mean, you gotta look. I mean, the Rockets back then, the Suns, the Spurs. A lot of times, good out there. Portland was good for a little bit there when Clyde was out there, and
hmm
definitely tough competition in the West.
Yeah, the West was no. The Bulls. They had some fighters in the East, but they just they're the Bulls, so they ran through them, and the West continued to throw out their best, and it never mattered. Of course, we were all robbed of seeing those Olajuwon Houston
Clyde
teams
was
go up against the Jordan Bulls.
always that what if, is that a team that would have, of course, we speculated one way or the other. We'll
hmm
never.
Yeah. I guess that's it. NBA talk. If you have anything thoughts on the summer league? Did you watch any of that or?
I usually catch highlights. I mean, of course, the big talk was third. What was the third? With Wimby's first
hmm
run there, and it's just a bit. To me, it's just a big practice. I mean, it's just guys, learning the NBA, learning how the game goes, and uh, you know, uh, I just
Um.
take it as it is. You just hope that especially the talent, the star rookie folks, they just gain that experience and get better from it, more or less. I don't know how much you really take away from summer league other than them getting better and learning, the NBA game and just what it takes to play all four quarters. Because it sounded like he was kind of tired on Thursday there. So
Yeah. You had him go up against Brandon Miller too.
yeah, yeah,
Brandon Miller looked a little rough. In his two games in the California Classic, as they called it, 15 fouls, 10
right.
turnovers, so not great.
Not great, but he dropped 16 on
He
Thursday,
had
and
a
he had
double
that.
double. Uh,
Yeah, he had that big boom though. He boomed on him.
hmm
Man, he could fly.
and one thing I read too from someone who watched the Hornets games more closely is that a lot of guys kind of fighting for roster position, so there's not a lot of
Hmm.
cohesion and just guys jacking up shots.
Right.
So but they did say Miller, reading some stuff, he improved as time went on, and he'll pick that
Yeah.
up. I no worry about him in there.
Right.
Amen Thompson, Scoot Henderson got hurt, so you hope those aren't bad.
Right. Yeah.
I don't
No.
think they
Thompson
are.
got. I think Thompson was an ankle injury, like a level 2 sprain or something. But
Yeah,
ankles are always tricky. You just never know.
yeah. Chet Holmgren made his debut and looked good. He had a
Yeah.
couple of highlights himself.
That's a
Uh,
guy. That's a guy. Sadly, he got hurt
mhm.
in that freak thing. Just playing at the whether in the Drew League last summer when it got
Yeah.
didn't move out the way and should have got out the way of the dunk. But that's a guy that if he turns into anything to what he could. I mean, he has high potential. If he turns into anything, he could definitely be something special there because he showed uh, at times at Gonzaga just how good he could be. But
Hmm.
I think his biggest concern was just so skinny. Yeah,
Yeah, and that frame could be, it's just these big guys. People don't. It's easy to lose sight on TV just how big these athletes are in the NBA
right.
and how that height and just that weight on your knees and legs.
Yeah,
It's kind of hard. And yeah, especially these real tall, lanky guys. You got to put some meat on those bones. So
yeah, but that's tricky because you don't want to put too much.
exactly. And then
'Cause
you
then,
look at the thing like Zion and his unique troubles.
you know, yeah, because if you've been a certain weight your whole life, and as you've gotten taller and your body's become accustomed to that
Hmm.
size, and then if you add 30, 40 pounds, what does that do to your knees, your ankles, just
I
your
know.
overall
I know what it does to my
cardiovascular?
knees, and I'm not an
Yeah,
athlete. I'm not
exactly.
out there playing, basketball every
Right,
other night.
right,
Uh,
exactly. It's a tricky thing 'cause we always say, oh, he needs to put on weight, but it has
mhm.
to be the right type of weight that still allows him to be as good as stay at that same level that he was, at the weight when everybody said, oh, he's too little.
Hmm.
So yeah, and that's the trick of it,
Yeah, but that's pretty much it for NBA. Like I said, we're just basically the Dame and James Harden watch right now.
pretty
Um,
much.
let's see. Of course, yeah, we're in the middle of the MLB season. Last game before the All Star break today, right? Yeah.
Yep,
Um,
today.
the Braves have overtaken the Rays for the best record in the league. They're just red hot.
Red hot. Yeah.
Like they've homered in 25 straight games. They've broken the record for most team homers before the All Star break. They got, Ronald Acuna is just having an unbelievable
Unbelievable.
MVP year. He's going to
Ridiculous.
start he talked about maybe a 50-50 club, probably not going to get the 50 homers, could still hit 40, and he might have about 75 stolen bases. So no one's ever done
Right.
that before. And then you got
Definitely
Sean
a front runner
Murphy.
for him right now.
Yeah. Yeah. We went to a game out in Atlanta last Saturday.
Hmm.
And yeah, that it was when they scored 6 in the first inning before even getting
Right.
an out. Something like that, 5 before an out maybe. But that lineup is something serious. Um,
Yeah.
you got guys like the young guy Ellie De La Cruz and Cincy, who is just a highlight reel, man.
Man, is he?
s-
That
that-
he's gonna become the most popular player because people
mhm.
just the problem is other than highlights, not too many times do we get to see Cincinnati on TV. So unless you're in a market to get Cincinnati games or catch highlights, I mean it's easy to find now with him named high. Yeah, you definitely have to at least check all those highlights if you haven't, because man, he is
Yeah, and they're
impressive.
currently in the lead in the NL Central.
Yeah,
They got 2 games up on Milwaukee, and you hope that they kind of hold on to that or at least make the wild card. So yeah, they get that a couple of young guys on that roster get exposure, but especially him.
oh yeah,
Last night, his highlight was he singled, then stole second, then stole third, and then stole home. Uh,
yeah.
just
What?
unbelievable. Yeah, just
Some video game type stuff.
it
Yeah.
really is just crazy stuff. It's like movie stuff. Like Benny the Jet Rodriguez shit out
Yeah.
here.
I, if you put that on the show, you'd be like, "This is ridiculous.
Yeah,
This is
like
not gonna happen,"
no
but it'll
one
be.
does that. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So this is after a couple weeks ago. He hit for the cycle against the
Right.
Braves in
Right.
like 5 innings. But
Yeah.
yeah, so getting to the All Star break, home run derby tomorrow. MLB draft is
Starts tonight,
tonight. Yeah, um,
and they
you
have
know,
what 500 rounds.
yeah, it's
That's
yeah,
a lot.
the MLB
That's a
draft's exhausting, and it's weird with their slots, and some teams don't always take like surefire prospects because they don't want to pay
right.
them. It's interesting thing.
And yeah, and
Seems
there are the people like what was it a couple years ago? The weirdest thing, the pitcher from Vanderbilt got drafted by the was it the Mets, but then they didn't come out with a contract. So then the next year he was able to get
yeah,
redrafted. Like that's so weird.
yeah. There's some big stuff. It looks mocks are kind of SEC guys, dominating it.
Oh yeah, that
And
first
some
round
high
is
school
definitely
kids.
heavy.
Rhett Lauder, the big pitcher from Wake Forest, had a great year.
Right.
He's probably going to
Yeah.
go high. Um, just looking to see, I don't think anybody from Alabama is projected to go too high. I'm sure
No,
they'll
I
have a
don't think.
couple picks. Like you said, there's 100 rounds, so someone somewhere will get drafted. But
And the
yeah,
other interesting thing is that you can play. It's really the only league where the draft happens in season, so these guys can actually play before
yeah,
the end of the, where you actually can come in and play. Like I know, like in the playoffs a couple years ago when the Royals were hot, I know they had drafted some TCU guys, and those TCU guys were playing. It's like, dude, I just saw you in the CWS.
yeah. No, it's
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah, you get you probably start in rookie ball, low A ball, and then if you're a better player and you zoom up, especially when they expand the rosters for the September call ups. Maybe you get
yeah,
just a cup of tea in the show to see if like maybe you're ready for that level of
exactly.
competition. Let's see. I don't think. See, Mookie Betts did something yesterday. Hit his 10th leadoff homer of the season. That ties Bobby Bonds, Barry's dad, for the most before the All
Hmm.
Star game. Still one of the great. Why the hell did y'all do that? Why the Red Sox ever traded Mookie Betts?
Yeah, I still don't understand that.
Yeah, I'm sure the Dodgers and their fans are all too happy and don't want us to question that. Shohei Ohtani still just doing unbelievable things.
Yeah, it's
Speaking of guys that
ridiculous.
you don't get to see enough of,
Yeah,
you got him leading the majors in homers, one of the better pitchers in the game, and the team's
like
a
that's
game under
just crazy.
500 and 7.5
Right?
out of the division.
Yeah,
Uh,
so they do. They literally have two of the best players in the game, but
hmm
just crazy, just how different it is with baseball. I mean, if you had two stars like that in the NBA, you're guaranteed to make the playoffs. I mean,
hmm
uh, just show you just how different the dynamic is in baseball. But then also too, but the main thing that I always look for with these young guys, and they're starting to do it a little better. Just market these guys.
Yeah,
Got to market because that's what makes the NBA so successful. It's just they market so well. There's more, especially with young people. There's more fans of players than teams these days. It seems, um, and it seems that that's maybe the way baseball needs to with these young guys, like the guy in Cincinnati. I mean, he's a very marketable and he's a talented dude. I'm sure jerseys will flown off the shelf. You
hmm
market that, you build, the young kids coming up see him. Oh, he's pretty cool. Maybe I want to go play baseball.
hmm
You
no,
got to market
absolutely.
that.
Yeah, you talked. That's
Tony,
always
you
been
got to
the
market that.
yeah. It's always been MLB's Achilles heels. They don't market stars well, and I mean the NFL does it better than them. NFL, football is the ultimate team game, and
Right.
the owners and the execs are all about it's the team before the player, but they market their stars. When they have a
Right.
Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, they market those matchups as Brady versus Manning, even though quarterbacks have
Right,
nothing
exactly.
to do against each other in games. It's not
Right.
Pats and Colts; it's
Mahomes
Brady and
Burrow
Manning.
and
Yeah, exactly.
Mahomes Burrow and yeah.
Yeah, now it's Mahomes Burrow. It's Lamar Jackson's the big deal. Like,
Yeah,
so yeah, if you're the MLB,
exactly.
yeah, you need to figure out, get it more out
How,
there. Get Otani out there. Get Ronald Acuna Jr. out there. Get
yeah,
Ellie De La Cruz.
these are
Get
good.
yeah.
Exactly. These are the names, and they're young enough. They're going to resonate with enough young people that it's going to make it more people are going to think, oh, it's cool to play baseball. It's cool.
Hmm.
They see someone, oh man, I want to be like him.
Yeah,
Maybe they,
exactly.
get younger people interested in baseball again because that seems to be the biggest thing is people gravitate toward football and basketball these days because that's who the cool athletes. That's who they see playing. What they see playing. So
No, absolutely. Yeah, you mentioned it too. That seems to be more. The younger kids today are following players, not teams. They're
right,
a fan of this player, and if he moves to that team, well, they're going to cheer for that team. They don't hold any allegiance.
exactly.
They might root for the hometown team still, but they follow the
Yeah,
players. And
exactly.
yeah, you get out there, and the MLB has the dumbest. I probably bitched about the blackout rules before. It's so dumb. You can't watch because of their regional sports contracts, which
Right.
that went belly up with Bally and all that.
Yeah.
You get blackouts, so even like sometimes if the Braves are on a national broadcast or something, I can't watch them. Because
Because it's just
and I'm
on
a
some
2 hour
local.
drive from them. That's it.
Yeah.
And
It's like, dude, we don't have that channel.
yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So your best players and your best teams, you don't always get to
Yeah.
see them, and they have weird
Exactly.
highlight rules. And I remember that used to be people bitch about Sports Center and didn't spend enough time on baseball, and then you find out it's like, well, because MLB dictates that you can only show 2 minutes of each game and highlights or whatever, so it's dumb.
So weird. Yeah, they do so much to hurt their own sport.
Hmm. It's like, and in today's world, with especially the short attention spans, everything's on to the
Oh
next thing.
yeah.
You have to constantly get your product
You
out
got to
there, and they don't.
exactly.
They're so bad at doing that, and
Right.
but yeah, it also, like, it does help if your best players are on winning teams. So maybe
Yeah.
Otani, if speaking of teams doing players a favor, yeah, if they continue to struggle here as we come up on that
Right.
trade deadline,
Yeah. Does he? What? Does? Yeah, because that's one where everybody's gonna jump on that that
mhm,
in that fight because man, imagine him in New York, L.A. market. Well, he's kind of
mhm,
in that market, but if he was actually a Dodger or something like this,
yeah.
the
Um,
just craziness of it.
so yeah, that's it. MLB. Other big thing, we see we're coming up on the Women's World Cup,
Mhm.
but we'll probably talk about that later, or the new podcast coming up, the Stare Down. Women's take on sports here on the Alabama Take family. They probably jump into that a lot better than we can.
Right.
Um, and I think that doesn't start for a couple of weeks, so we might talk a little bit
Yeah.
about it next time
I
too.
know they. I know the women's team has a friendly today. I think
They do.
Finland, if I'm not.
Yeah, I wasn't sure
Um,
who it is either, but yeah, friendly
and then
today,
I
and I
know
believe.
the men have Gold Cup action quarterfinals against Canada.
Oh yeah, a big regional rivalry there.
Right.
That's later today at 6:30.
Yeah.
The women play Wales. That's who they're friendlies
Wales.
against. Wales, yeah.
Wales, Finland. Eh.
Yeah, Europe. Let's see, just some funny, interesting headlines here. Greg Popovich signed a 5-year deal with the Spurs, so he's going to stay
Yeah, I saw
around.
that.
There's Northwestern, a little bit of a scandal. Pat
Yeah,
Fitzgerald
that's
was
weird.
initially suspended for a couple of weeks due to hazing
Now they're
things, and then it came out.
now they're pulling it back.
Yeah, now they're saying they pull it back and they need to reconsider, and that maybe some of these are lies. So I don't know if they're just jumping to defend their guy or.
Yeah, I don't
Um,
know. That's just out of all programs and of all people, that was not one I expected to see.
yeah, that's he's
He's,
a really beloved guy and held in high esteem.
yeah,
Some anonymous former players claim that some of these hazing incidents were, sexual nature. Um,
Yeah,
It just
it's
yeah.
just
So we'll see. It's early yet. Let's let the investigation pan out.
right. Just not a name you thought would I don't
No,
know
yeah, that's
even
not
come up with.
a name
It's
or a
like
program that you really
program, yeah. You think a class with everything and just yeah, nothing kind of shocked you a little bit to see, but
yeah. And then you got this. Bob Huggins after another DUI
now
arrest
he wants to
resigned
sue.
from resigned from West Virginia. What was that, about a month ago now? A
Yeah,
few weeks ago at least. And now he's coming out and his lawyer claims that he never
like
actually officially resigned, and now they're going to sue the university if he doesn't get
it's like,
reinstated.
bro, it's like, bro, like why? What university is gonna bring you back? Like you can't do that. Like
Yeah, that's
I don't know, like especially with something like that. Like mistakes happen. Of course, I mean I can't say, DUIs happen, but when you're the coach of the program, you have to be held to a higher standard than a regular person
mhm.
because you're the leader. And these kids look up to you, and if you're living one thing and telling these guys another thing, like yeah, it's not a good look. Like, and he's had his issues in the past with different things, as is well documented. He's a different guy. But yeah, I mean, and this just, I don't know, this looks really bad. Like, dude, like obviously the resignation off had to have happened at some level. Like, something had been signed or, I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, it's another strange situation to watch.
All right.
I saw something funny. Moving a little lighter. What was it? Oh, Wimbledon, of course, uh, going on right now, and they had
Mm-hmm.
to address people popping champagne bottles in the crowd during service. um,
That's
only
funny.
only at Wimbledon, I believe. That's probably
All
the
right.
only sporting event where that's a problem. And then,
Guys, calm down.
of course, I guess it was a couple of weeks ago now, but the ESPN had a big round of layoffs and some big
Jeez.
names.
A lot of, free agents.
Yeah, let's see. I'm trying to pull up a list.
I mean, just off the top of my head, of course, you have Jalen Rose, longtime ESPN
mhm,
employee.
Jeff Van Gundy.
Um, Jeff Van Gundy. What do we have? David Pollock.
Hmm.
Uh, Keyshawn Johnson. Pretty much the whole morning show got cut beside Jay Will.
Yeah, right. Max Kellerman, Susie Colbert.
Yeah,
She's
Matt.
been around forever.
Yeah, she's been at ESPN forever as a
Uh,
sideline and pregame show.
Matt Hasselbeck, Steve Young, no longer with. Todd McShay, a huge college football, prospect
Yeah,
guy,
draft guy.
huge draft guy. He's
Yeah,
gone.
I'm gonna miss that Todd.
Yeah.
But,
um, thought I
yeah,
saw that.
Gene Wojciechowski from
Yeah,
College
Wojo.
Game Day. He's
Yeah,
been
huge. He's been
Wojo
one of
for a
their.
long term. Did all the little side specials,
Yeah, longtime
the
guy that
heartfelt.
and he's been one of their better college football reporters of the past
Yeah,
couple of decades. Like,
excellent writer, and wow,
yeah,
was it Steve Levy off of Sports Center? One of the big older Sports Center dudes got let. No, it was Stan. Yeah, it's just a lot of names of well over 10, 15 years, if not longer, at ESPN. It's like yikes. And I'm sure a lot of them probably be quick to find other spots, but
hmm
at the same time, it's only so many. With so many being let go at the same time, it's only so many open spots and different networks as well. So it'd be interesting to see how that all plays out.
I'm trying to. What the hell is this site that I'm on? Is I'm looking up the mirror. I imagine that's probably part of the problem. Yeah, I was just looking for a complete list of guys that
And
actually
the
got let
funniest
go.
thing is like ESP. You would think at some point ESPN would have like, but they never report anything on themselves ever. It's
No,
so funny, so funny.
yeah, Feinbaum spoke out, called it a horrible day, the worst day
Yeah.
since he's been with ESPN. That's a big change of their NBA crew. Um,
Oh yeah, because
Van
they,
Gundy, yeah.
because yeah, because Van Gundy. Yeah, I like the Van Gundy and Mark Jackson. I thought they were. I don't know. I thought they were pretty funny together.
Hmm.
I enjoyed them.
So yeah, that's
Uh, I mean, I could see Jalen, fitting in well with TNT there.
hmm no, that would
That
be
wouldn't be a bad fit. I think he'd fit in well because honestly, that just so night and day with the TNT versus the ESPN ABC format on the pregame postgame. It's just so dry on the ESPN compared to TNT. I mean, it's just a whole different, whole
hmm
different thing.
yeah, and so much better. So actually, um, just looser.
Oh,
Um,
way looser, way more fun. I can see Jalen going over there and doing fine.
yeah, Wojciechowski, you'd see him ending up somewhere like the Athletic, using his
Oh yeah,
reporting
yeah,
skills. Susie Colbert, she's easy. She can find herself any network that
for
needs
sure.
a host or sideline reporter.
Yeah, for sure. She could
Um,
have. Yeah,
yeah, former players like Steve Young, he's Steve Young, he'll be fine. He'll find somewhere if he wants it. If he doesn't want it,
exactly. He'll
he's
be
also
fine.
fine.
I mean, he has plenty of money. It's not
Yeah,
like,
Blaine
and
unearthed an
that's
old.
I guess that's a one good thing.
No,
A
go ahead.
lot of a lot of these, a lot. That's I guess that's a one thing that's not so bad. That a lot of these people probably living pretty comfortably, so it's not like they're just out and
Hmm.
it's like, oh, what am I gonna do next? I mean, it's not
Yeah,
like a regular person losing their job per se,
yeah,
but
yeah. You still
still
hate to see it
kind
because
of weird.
all it is corporate cost cutting, and but
Yeah,
and you'd
but
rather
it's
see
just
them.
like, yeah, especially because I mean, I mean, you hear the bit, that they're offering Shannon Sharp, Shannon Sharp big money, but
Hmm.
like what he's gonna have from all the cuts, he's gonna be on 20,000 shows, isn't he? uh, and then they gave I can't even think of his name right now. Uh, the punter WWE guy, they gave
Oh
him
yeah,
big
Pat
money.
McAfee.
Pat, I like Pat, but yeah, they gave him big money.
Yeah, and that's a guy that he's kind of one of those. He's hot or cold, depending on who you are. Like either you love him or like you
Or
really
you
don't like
hate him.
him. Yeah,
Yeah, there's no
yeah.
no in between with Pat.
No, and I get his place as a as someone, especially as a guy who likes wrestling and his foray in WWE. I liked him, so I see his place. But I could also, when I have friends that are like, "What is this guy doing on my TV?" I get it. Like if you're not, he's basically
Yeah,
playing his
if you're
wrestling
not
character the whole
familiar
time.
with them,
Yeah.
or yeah, if you're not familiar with Pat McAfee, I know when he got on Game Day last year, there's a lot of people like, who the fuck is this guy? Like, why is he on here right now? But
Yeah. And then Blaine unearthed an old column from probably about 4 years ago now about David Pollock and how he's probably a perfect fit at Fox Sports.
yeah,
So
he
yeah.
fits. He
Who
kind
also
of
they
fits
just
it.
signed our boy Mark Ingram.
Mark Ingram.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he'll be on their big noon Saturday show.
Yeah, that's kind of a good thing because
Mm.
they're kind of the anti-SEC, anti-Alabama, so that'll be interesting to get a kind of a SEC take. Because they seem to be the front runner of
Mhm.
everything Big Ten, hating the SEC
Yeah,
machine.
and as they get on now, and then as they build their, I guess, do they? I don't know how that works. Do they still have? I guess they'll still do some Big Ten games, even with the Big Ten moving their big game to or CBS. Um,
Yeah, I would assume that they was. I mean, they have enough decent games a week
mhm.
they could fit in something there.
Yeah, and they still have their Big 12 contract, I believe, too, right? So that, um,
Yeah, they
so
still
yeah,
had a big.
we'll see what goes on with the that kind of stuff. But you have anything else in the world of sports? I think I dried up there.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot. It's kind of just that.
Mhm.
Wouldn't say dead period, but it's kind of I guess the slowest part of the. Still a lot of sports, but not I guess not the major ones. Of nine, the majority of people follow religiously there, but kind of the downtime. But it's a lot of stuff on the horizon there. A lot of happenings, willings and dealings, and we're under 60 days to college football.
Hmm.
It's huge.
That's a big thing. Yeah, you're getting your Phil Steele preview guides out in your bookstores now, and all those are starting to pop up on newsstand
And
shelves.
I mean, that used to be so huge to get that
Hmm.
preview magazine, but now everything just so changes so quickly that those magazines,
They're out of date by the time the season starts. Yeah.
right?
Um, yeah,
Because
now is when we used to get, and maybe next year we finally will again. But about now is when NCAA,
oh man,
EA Sports released their NCAA games, and that's when you really knew it was real.
right?
Standing in line
Yeah.
for a midnight pickup at the local
Oh
GameStop or
man.
whatever,
Yeah.
starting your dynasties. Uh, if you're
They
old like
always
us,
midnight.
downloading
Yeah.
actual rosters with names that someone painstakingly went in and changed.
Yeah, that used to be pretty impressive. People used to actually go through and
Mhm.
upload every name and everything about them, and
Yeah, not just
man,
names, but get their height right, get their padding right, and their attributes. It's crazy that people would spend hours, and they would actually get advanced copies of the games so that when the game went, mass release, you could go home that night and download
and
the rosters, and you could start your dynasties with real players and
yeah, quite the.
get 12 guys in your dorm room playing, and
Oh man,
yeah, good
lot,
times. But
lot, lot of long nights, and
a lot of long nights, especially when it came time to off-season recruiting. That was always the worst part of every dynasty.
oh, oh man,
It
yeah,
took
but
forever, but all right, man. What's been done up real good for you lately?
uh, honestly, just enjoying the summer. Man, sadly, we start school so early here in the Omaha area, like August 10th. So
Oh,
yeah, we're under almost to a month left, but just enjoying the summer, and uh, that's about it. How about you?
I mentioned going to that Braves game last week, and that was a nice trip out of. It was initially going to be the kids' first game, but it was so hot that
Oh,
we went with my wife's brother and his wife and their kid, who was born 10 days before ours, and we kind of like, why don't we just let grandmas watch the kids, and we'll
no,
go
yeah,
to Atlanta for the day. So that
yeah,
was nice. It's a nice stadium
good.
out there.
Oh yeah,
As Braves fans, it was good to see them jump on them, get a good win over the Marlins. We had shaded seats at least, I'll say that, because it was a hot one in Atlanta. Uh, but
it's a hot every.
it's a real nice stadium. Um, you know, say what you will about the reasons they moved from downtown to the
Mm-hmm,
suburbs, but nice stadium out there. The concourses were real nice and
mm-hmm,
good and breezy. So if you needed a break, it was
nice.
you could take some steps, and we got good seats. But yeah, it's, like you said, it's kind of nice summertime. It's a little hotter in the south, but we're used to it.
Right.
But that does it for us, folks. We'll see you again in a couple weeks. Then maybe we'll start going back to every week by then. We'll check out our schedules, but we can start
Yep.
previewing football season.
Yeah. Start
Um,
looking at
yeah, maybe spacing it out so we can get in depth about maybe some of the bigger conferences.
right.
Um, but we'll talk about it, and we will see y'all then. Thank you once again for listening. I'm TD. That is Greg. Hope y'all keep it done up real good out there. Take it easy, y'all.
Yep.
Hey, folks. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Taking on Sports. If y'all would be so kind, subscribe and rate us on whatever platform you listen to us, and tell a friend who you think would like the show. Even better, tell a rich friend. Be sure to check out all the other great podcasts within the Alabama Take family, like Taking It Down, our TV and pop culture podcast, the Alabama Slam, our wrestling podcast, and be on the lookout for our new sports podcast, The Stare Down, which will give you a sports insight from the women's point of view. Of course, there's a lot more we have to offer, including the AlabamaTake.com, where you can catch all of our podcasts, in addition to some excellent writing. Thank you once again for listening. Keep it done up real good out there, y'all.